The 500 days that made me a better person. I was a great person before it actually happened, but it gave me time to really ponder about things in the world, of how things work, how things affect people, and how people treat others. It's not a bed of roses as so many people try to paint the picture as everybody helps everybody. I found that that's not the truth. It's very heartbreaking of finding out and seeing the truth firsthand. The justice system, how it's supposed to find justice, and it does not. It will falsely accuse somebody, and I have seen it many times that people get locked up for years, decades, and then the truth comes out one way or the other, and they get released. And all meanwhile, the person that was sitting behind bars tried to tell them for years what went on, but nobody was willing to listen, especially like the DA. They just want to put another notch in their belt. It don't matter if it's the person that did the crime or not. It has made me a stronger person to not take things as face value of what people say. I go more on their actions that will tell me the truth of what the reality really is. People can say they didn't do anything or they're not going to do anything, but their actions repeatedly says the very opposite of what they're trying to tell you verbally. I have come to care less what people say about me, what they try to accuse me of, what they try to say, what kind of person I am, whatever they want to say to fit their agenda or fit what makes them feel better, of putting me down, falsely accusing me, saying I knew he did it. You come to find who your true loyal friends really are when you go through a ordeal that I had to go through. So now I can care even less what others say. I care less about what people said before I even got falsely accused, but I even care even less now. I am more cautious of what people say because I have become a stronger person, because I have seen the dirtiness from within and true colors of people showing up. What used to be them calling themselves my friend. I have come to learn to build relationships that will always be there. Don't matter what you're going through, you can rely on them particular people to be there. They will not judge you. They will not falsely accuse you. They will not question whether you did or did not do what they are saying that you done. The lone time made me see how well I put things in place to make it through all the BS that I had to go through. I put people in my life that I can rely on, that I knew no matter what, they will always be there. You have to live the life that makes you happy. You don't need to walk around like you walk on eggshells and afraid to disappoint someone, hurt somebody's feelings, just to get through the next day. It's your life that you are living, not theirs. So if what you do or what you say don't line up to what they think you should be living your life as, then that's on them, not you. You have to live in the reality in all aspects in your life. You can't be what you were not born as, regardless how much you feel that you are, but reality says you're not. As I was there for them 512 days, I was plundering if I was going to go back to work or not. Or am I going to take this opportunity to have a all total different life? So I decided that after I got out of there, I was going to close my business, close down the heating and air. What I went through for them 500 some days is the equivalent to all the BS somebody goes through their life for decades. So I felt that from the age I was, I'm like, I've gone through enough BS as people would be from my age too. They retire 65, 70 years old. So I've dealt with enough BS in my life. It's time to live life abundantly and enjoy every moment of it on my time. And that's what I did. I got out in 2012 and tried to get back in the groove of doing heat and air. And I kept thinking, I need to get out of this and just enjoy time with loved ones and do things that I want to do to be a better person and not let being falsely accused bring me down, not be like them and lash back out at them for falsely accusing me. I'm going to be the better person. I mean, I was a great person before I went in, but when I came out, I was even a better and stronger person of my morals that I was raised and taught. Regardless how angry I was for being forced to sit there for them 512 days, I used them 500 some days to analyze of what was going on and ways that I can actually make my life even better than it was before I even got in there. Take their negative and turn it into a positive for my own self when I walk out of that place. I was falsely accused, falsely arrested, sat in that cell for 500 some days, never went to court. they kept trying to bring this up and bring that up, and it just kept getting thrown out. I never went to court. I just went and saw my attorney like every 3 to 5 months. She kept me up on what was going on. She was making a motion for this and that and all, and discovery and all. They didn't have anything. They found no evidence whatsoever, but that was not enough for them to realize, hey, he must have not done it because why? We can't find anything. It's just somebody's word of he did something. But that wasn't enough. They were so determined to put this crime on somebody, and they really didn't care who it was. They had somebody locked up, and they were determined to put this on that particular person and call it a day. Well, I wasn't having any of it, and my attorney was not having any of it either. After 500 some days, I walked. I just could not believe that after 512 days, they had the same thing to say in the first 2 weeks that I was actually there. They couldn't find anything. But they wasted all that time and all that money holding somebody for no reason. They just had agenda to put and pin this on somebody, and they were determined to get that done. Thought I was going to give in. They even brought me into a room and said I can confess to a less of a charge and spend X amount of time. I'm like, I didn't do it. I ain't going to confess to anything that I didn't do. I'm like, if I knew this is what you're going to bring me down here, I would stay in my room and drink me some more coffee and listen to the radio. I'm like, don't call me down here anymore until you tell me I'm getting ready to walk out of here. And I looked at my attorney, and she kind of grinned, and she said, okay, this meeting is over. And I'm like, this was a waste of time. It got me out of the room, but I get out of the room twice a day anyway, watch TV and take a shower. I didn't want to hear that BS. But at that time, it let me and my attorney know that they were getting very desperate, and they know that they were losing the battle of falsely accusing somebody because they were willing to try to get me on something because they couldn't get me on what they wanted to get me on. So when I got out, I worked the rest of that year, which is 2012. And at the end of the year, I'm like, no, this is not what I want anymore. I mean, the heating and air was great, but it was time for me to change my direction in my life. Probably if that did not happen, I would probably still be doing heat and air now. And it's been 13 years since this episode in my life I had to go through. I'm glad and very relieved and very stress-free of giving up the heating and air, not working. Now, of course, I do the internet, but it runs itself. I mean, this whole year I haven't done anything. And it's the 24th, so pretty much almost this whole month, I'm not going to be doing anything. I did like one install, and that took me maybe like 15 minutes. It took me longer to drive there than it is actually install it because I had everything programmed. But 30 minutes out of the whole month, that's not work. I mean, I went by the coffee shop and picked up a cup of coffee and then went and installed that in about 20 minutes, logged in the laptop and turned on their account, and I left. My coffee was still hot. When you retire, you don't quit working. You just have control of everything in your life, what you do. I keep doing things like the internet to keep me physically active. That's the only reason I really do it. It's having control of your life when you retire. And after them 512 days, I decided that's what I'm going to do. And even till the time I'm making this video, 13 years later, I still have that same mindset. I'm glad that I did what I did of retiring at 45. Was it easy? No. All them years I was doing heat and air, I had to pretty much, from getting up 5, 6 o'clock every morning, 6 days a week, working till midnight and don't get home till 1 or 2 in the morning, drive an hour after the last job to get home. It paid off. I'm glad I did, because I would not be able to do what I did when I got out after them 512 days, because I wouldn't have had enough finances, support that I put together to be able to sustain that longevity of being retired that early in life. And now, as the technology has come out, like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, and all that, it makes it even easier. I mean, you get in your car, you turn on an app, and you go shopping for somebody, drive around, drop it off, physical moving all around that, so that, and get a little bit of coffee money. I'm glad that I retired. And I got it to the point where I can completely retire and do absolutely nothing, just sit at home. But that's not the kind of person I am. I like going out, just like it's it snowed a few days ago, and snow is still here, and I couldn't stop myself from just getting out and just riding around to see the beautiful scenery that God has put upon us around here by putting a dust of snow. See things in a different light, in a different perspective, how beautiful things really can be. Only if you don't let other people destroy it for you by their false narratives, false claims, falsely and wrongfully accused. Care less about what other people say about you or what they say you should be doing. Don't live the normal life that was already by society planned out for you. Go to school, go to college, get a degree, get a house, get married, have kids, retire, and work for 30, 40 years, and then retire 65, and hope and pray that you got years after you retire that you can actually enjoy all the fruits that you have made all them 35, 40 years. I've seen so many people that retire 60, 65, and then they pass away 1 or 2 years later. What fun is that? None. I like to flip it. Work less and retire more. So, being falsely accused, in a way, is a blessing, because it gave me a perspective of how precious life really is. And you have to, as the old saying, you have to stop and smell the roses from time to time. Well, I've been smelling the roses for the last 13 years, and it's wonderful. Things have changed in this world, and people's, I don't know if it's the attitude or their outlook on life or whatever it may be, on just little things. Back when I was still living at home in the 70s and the early 80s, still in high school. My family used to go on vacations. Mainly, I would say probably 90% of the time, it was Myrtle Beach for the weekend or a week. It was almost written in stone every summer we're going to go to Myrtle Beach, which was wonderful. And it's the same thing over and over, the same amusement park, the same roller coaster, and everything else. But it was in just as enjoyable the 15th time than it was the first time that I went with them because it was family time. Just little things as like back then we used to have a camcorder, the big VHS camcorder. You sit up on your shoulder and record all the things that's going on. People didn't have any issues with that whatsoever. I had people jump in front of the camera and say, hey, hey, they enjoyed it. Now you pick up your cell phone, walking out in the public and record something, and somebody come out there and say, you can't record our business because it's a private business, but you're on public sidewalk. But they're telling you that you can't record their business because it's a private business, even though you're in a public place and anything you can see from public, you can record. But they will call the police and everything else. Things have just turned 180. Things that used to be normal is almost people treat it as a crime. They will call the police. They will try to fight you. And when I went to Arizona, I had people say, well, you can't record me. I don't want to be on camera. And I was just walking down the sidewalk. And when I was in California visiting to meet up with a heating and air friend that I only met online, I was walking down the sidewalk just videoing and talking about the buildings and the stained glass in this church and whatever I saw. Record as life was happening so I can archive that memory on a hard drive so my kids can have it. It's like a photo album. Instead of the physical page you turn, it's digital. That's all I was doing. So we can sit back and project it up on the wall and talk about it. And if we want to go again, what did we miss? People don't want to be recorded as you walking down the sidewalk. I looked at him, I said, I'm on a public sidewalk recording my life as it's happening. What's your problem? Oh, they wanted to fight and everything. I had a few to swing at me, which they were introduced to pepper spray at that moment. And they didn't like that. But, I don't like to fight. I will walk away if I had the opportunity. But you back me in the corner, well, gloves off. But just walking down the street, recording, and people want to try to snatch your camera or your cell phone out of your hand, it's crazy. That's when I escalated my perspectives of way I live my life, of care less what people say or what they want to do about me. And all of 2024, I pretty much did nothing but spend time with family, enjoying meeting other people through the WISP internet hobby, to the point where I didn't even do any of the gig apps enough for them to send me a 1099. I did very minimum of any kind of work related stuff. Usually I do enough of Uber Eats or something that I get a 1099, but I got an email saying you did not qualify or see how they say it, you did not succeed or pass or meet the threshold requirements for a 1099. I forgot exactly what term they used, but you didn't work enough to get a 1099. We'll see you next year. And that feels good because I got it to the point now that I don't have to rely on working. I spend more time doing things I want to do, get up when I want to, watch what I want to, spend time with whoever I want to, family and all. It has taught me and showed me really how the legal system really works and how people can be so ruthless and selfish. I'm thinking they can do whatever they want to do towards you, and then at the end expect you to be there when they need help or when they have a problem. Don't let others play you. Don't let them trick you. Don't let them be selfish. Don't let them think they can do whatever, and you will always be around when they need something. That's not how a good life works. When people say they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that, well, and then their action shows exactly the opposite of what they've been saying. But at the end, they expect you to still be there to fulfill your obligations or your promises that you verbally told them that you were going to do. They live as they can have their cake and eat it too. That's not how life works. Not in the real world, not in reality. That only works for the people that's being selfish. As another saying that my dad used to say as well, good things come to people that's willing to wait, but not to the ones that waited too late. If you're willing to wait for something good to happen is great as long as you're doing things to make that good thing actually happen and accomplish that. But not to the ones that's wanting to wait and not do anything to make it happen and then realize it's too late. And especially in relationships, regardless what kind of relationship it may be. If it's just a high school friend, maybe a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whoever it may be, thinking that they can do whatever they want to do, say whatever they want to say, trying to manipulate to make you stay around and be there when they become ready, but them not doing the things that they supposed to do to make it happen. And they keep making excuses of why they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Oh, I misunderstood what you meant. They will make any and every kind of excuse to justify their stupidity and ignorance, thinking they're going to somehow twist things, say things to make you almost feel guilty, so you stick around until they're ready. That's not how it works. I have learned to let them people go their way, live their life however they want to live it. They're the one that's going to have to pay the consequences because they're waiting too late. It's like if anybody's trying to live their life on the wild side and then expect when they get 30, 40 years old to be able to find somebody to settle down and have kids and buy a home and retire together. Well, all the ones that you dated in the past could have been, and perhaps one of them, if not more, was the one you're supposed to settle down with that would work great as the relationship. And you passed it on because you were not willing to do things to make your life better. You were just out there doing whatever with whoever, wherever, and thinking that the world revolves around you and it will be there when you are ready to straighten yourself out and come to your senses. That's what I've learned, even in more depth of them 500 days, how people try to live their life and then expect the rest of the world to still be there when they become ready. I don't let them people predict or take control of how my life is lived. I have my own life to live. And if your thoughts and ways of living does not line up the way I want my life to be, bye bye. I'm not going to just keep waiting around on you. I gave you months, years, decades, maybe. People in my life I've given many years, and they just seem to stay on that track, don't matter what. Then they'll make excuses why they got off track or the way they're living their life or whatever it may be. Some excuse to try to justify why they are in the BS that they're in or the shambles that they are in their life. But they're not willing to pick up the pieces and make something of themselves. I just don't understand why people have changed like 180, like just little things like being recorded now is almost like it's a crime to them that you cannot record them in public. It's crazy. I saw it on YouTube, but I thought it was just a script that people just making videos to get views and stuff, make it funny. Until I encountered it firsthand, that I had people trying to grab my cell phone, throw stuff at me, curse at me, call the police on me. I'm like, what? I thought I was in a dream or something. But then I kept watching the videos after that, and I'm like, that's not just a script. That's actually reality of how some people are that stupid of thinking that you cannot be recorded out in the public. That's just one thing that has changed over the years. Things that used to be norm. I mean, and that's just the last few years. What is it going to be in the next 10, 15 years? How crazy and stupid are people going to be? Them kind of people you don't need in your life. that is not going to make anything of themselves. They keep saying they're going to be changing, not doing things they used to do, but they keep doing it year after year after year. At first, when I was in that room, it started taking a toll of, is the system really going to work and find justice, or am I going to be falsely accused and falsely locked up for a decade or two for something I didn't do? For the first month, it was quite scary, and tell you the truth, it was really frightening. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I had to force myself. But after I started thinking, and I had one guy in there, Johnny Lewis, we got out on rec, is what they call it, twice a day for like a couple hours each. We sat there and talked to each other, and it was very comforting of having somebody there that you can talk to, that can understand where you're coming from. And he was saying he was falsely accused as well. And eventually, maybe a month before I was released, he was released. Now, he went to court, I do believe, for a few things. But at the end, he was released. They said they couldn't find anything. And then about a month later, I was released. Same thing. Where's the justice in that? Holding somebody for over a year, almost a year and a half, to prove they're innocent. I had nothing on my record prior to that except maybe a worthless check for $18, tinted glass on a car, speeding ticket which was thrown out because the odometer was reading wrong. And I got a company to check that and brought that documentation to the court, and they dismissed it. But other than that, didn't have anything. And then they had the audacity to hold somebody that has no prior record of any kind of violence or anything like that for 500 some days. What kind of justice is that? That's ridiculous. That is somebody that has agenda and determined to get somebody locked up for something they didn't do just to make their ego and their record look better. That needs to stop. That's BS. That's not justice. That's stupidity. So stop letting people control your life. Stand up for what you know is right. If you didn't do anything wrong, then never back down.